manger, 1908 to 1939. He died at 31.
So this is where the story begins then?
Yep, 78 years ago in June. I was born in a house just about there, in the middle of that area. There were 3 houses, number 2, number 4, number 6. And Tim and I were both born in number 4, sorry. But then, just after I started school, Mum and Dad swapped with Winnie Hemmings, who lived next door, and we moved into number 2, and she moved into number 4, and that's where I've spent my first 18 years of my life, in that house there, with a toilet at the bottom of the garden. The reason we swapped houses with Winnie was there were only 2 of them, and once Tim was born there were 5 of us, and we got 3 bedrooms in this house. Beverly and I shared the attic. And we used to fight a bit, as children do, but all our playing was done together. We either went off to the woods playing, or we went off cycling. Everything was always done together until Beverly outgrew Tim and me. But this road was very much a country road. I've seen the sheep herded down here, and on a Sunday, every Sunday, the Salvation Army would come, and right outside our house they'd go in a circle and they'd be playing their instruments. There was never any cars. They didn't have to move off the road for cars because there weren't any cars. And we got a garden there, which number 4 and number 2 didn't have garden, they just had yards at the back. But we'd all 3 got the grotty toilet down the garden. But number 2 and number 4 didn't have water in the houses. They had to go to the little room at the bottom of the garden. I can't remember what they called them. And but we got water in the house at number 2. It was a really good move for us. Well, Mum and I rubbed each other up the wrong way. I was the middle child, and Dad always called me the black sheep of the family, even though I was his favourite. But I was always in trouble with my mother. She wanted a boy, but she did get the boy in the end, and she spoiled him rotten. But she did get her boy in the end. All I can really remember about Mum is sitting in her armchair knitting, and that carried on for the whole of her life. She was always knitting. She was a pretty awful cook, but Dad was quite a good cook. We used to rush home from school on a Friday because we knew he would be cooking. Just to the left of that factory there was a big shed, because we were a cycling family, we didn't have a car. The shed to put all the bicycles in, because we used to go off cycling as a family, and we'd cycle round lanes. I only remember the once. Tim was old enough to cycle, but he was sitting in the back of Dad's bicycle. He had a seat in the back of Dad's bicycle, and I started to cry because they got lost and I was tired. So they swapped us over, and I sat on the bicycle and he was cycling. So I don't know how old we were then, 4, 5, 6, I had no idea. But we did a lot of cycling as children, but Mum and Dad had done a lot of cycling as a married couple. Well, this was my school, and I can't ever remember my parents bringing me to school, or any parents bringing them to school. There was only one little boy who got brought to school, and that was because he liked to come on his bicycle, and his mum would bring him on his bicycle, and then she'd carry his bike home and come and fetch him. Now they have to tell cars not to park on the zigzags because so many parents bring them to school. But that was the infant school, and that was the junior school. there. And so I had some lovely years here. I went to this school a very, very long time ago, and my husband is doing a film of our lives.
Oh,
He was born just up the road, and now we've come to my first school.
have you seen our recent posts on social media? Sorry, I haven't got a
Les,
mask on.
don't go.
You've got one on.
I know, that's me. I should have came out without it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We've put a post on social media asking people, ex-students from the school.
Oh no! Oh gosh! They've had some interest via social media,
Yeah.
and the stories coming in of what's happened and what they've done and what they used to play, and it's really good because I think the head teacher wants to build up some form of scrapbook, if you like. Obviously,
Yeah.
we go to a brand new building. It's a shame. It's over 100 years old,
Oh yeah.
and it's just going to get left, you know.
Oh,
so
I'm really sad about that.
Yeah.
This is gonna be-
yeah, I mean, it's good for us because obviously the
Yeah.
school isn't big enough now for the children that surround the
Well, I was
area.
looking at the size. Actually,
Yeah.
it seemed bigger to me, of course,
Yes.
at the time. I can remember when King George VI died, and we had to line up in the playground out the back, all in long lines, like clock like that. And while the headmistress, I've no idea what she said, but she said something to us, and we all had to look very sad because somebody had died. King George
Do you
VI.
still live around the Redditch area?
No, I live in Stourport on 7. I can remember sitting in one of the classrooms there, and that Britain Street was on the side of the house there,
Yeah.
written on there. And the teacher was giving us a spelling test, and she said Britain. And I was very good at spelling, and I spelled Britain, Britain. And she said, and you can all turn around and see it on the. And I thought, well, they've spelled it wrong up there.
So you got told off for that?
Yeah. She was talking about a different Britain to my Britain.
Yeah.
And I can remember winning an art competition, but unfortunately they'd given us the pictures to take home and to complete at home, and my mother was very arty and she completed it, so I always felt very guilty because I won, but I always felt my mother had done it, not me. I'd also only ever had one picture all the way through school. I only ever had one picture on the wall, and that was of a lady diving in from a diving board into the swimming pool. And again, they got one of these peripatetic teachers working there, and she helped me with that picture. It was the best picture I've ever drawn, and I got it put on the wall, but I think she did more of it than I did. But anyway, while I was in that junior school, one of the little girls was taken ill, and she sat next to me in class, and she went into hospital and she died, and we were all horrified. But then our parents were rushing around and we realised there was problems. Every child in my class was tested for it. It was diptheria, and my sister was taken ill before me, even though I sat next to the girl who died. Her name was Pamela, the young lady who died. And Beverly went into hospital first, then they tested us again in the family, and I had to go into hospital. And we were both in hospital for 3 months, so this school, there were a lot of us from this school in hospital. It must have been very empty. Well, Beverly and I used to fight like most brothers and sisters do, but she was always very protective of me because I was 3 years younger than her. I remember when we were in hospital, I'd wet the bed. I was 9, but I would obviously not been able to contact a nurse quickly enough, and I'd wet the bed, and the nurse smacked me, and Beverly was actually very ill, a lot worse than I was, and she threw herself out of bed and threw herself at the nurse and caused havoc because she dared hit her little sister. But that's the only thing I can remember, is all the nurses rushing around to get Beverly back in bed. See, the school's only there, and Dad had got an allotment down this path here, and we used to, on a Saturday, we'd come and help him. As a family, we came to help him in the allotment. He got gooseberry bushes, Mum used to have 2 rows of wallflowers. She loved wallflowers. And then it was cabbages and cauliflower and broccoli and all the different vegetables and potatoes. They always had some rows of potatoes. Used to have to stack them high so they didn't go green. And at the end of the road, it was prefabs. It wasn't houses. It was prefabs. But we used to come every Saturday and play there. You can't see the church clock from here. But when we were little, you could see the church clock, and Mum would keep an eye on the clock to see what time it was to get home for our tea. But this path has always been here. Don't know whether it is so well structured when I was young. And it leads to the football ground. And we'd be doing the garden, and there'd be suddenly a roar, and Dad would say, "Oh, goal!" And then there'd be a moan when it was the other team who won. But there were so many people came. There must have been hundreds of people walked up this path on a Saturday to watch the football. This was my senior school. It was Redditch County High School, the grammar school of the area. People came to the other entrance, not to this entrance, on buses and coaches from all over the Worcestershire. It was one of only 2 grammar schools in the area, and I think I enjoyed my years here. I enjoyed being with boys because at the junior school we'd been separated, but now I was mixed with boys, though they played in one playing field and we played in the other, but nevertheless in the classroom we were together. This was my route to school. This was the main entrance in those days, and it was the route to the school. There was none of these new buildings there then. It was just the one big square building in the middle. And Mr. Hart, most of the teachers came on bicycles or walking. Mr. Hart used to come on his bicycle, and he used to cycle down this road. And he always, every morning, he'd pass me, and as he went past, he'd yell, "Detention, Bicknell," because I wasn't wearing my hat. I was always in detention because I wasn't wearing my hat. But we did. It was quite a good school. It's got the school motto, like I can't remember the whole of the school motto. It was something like needle straight, because Redditch is the needle industry, and arrow keen, because the river going through is the River Arrow. May we reject the false and mean, nil nisi optime. Nothing but the best. Okay, these are the woods we played in as children, and it was very full-time playing. We were up in the woods every day. Well, presumably it rained some days and we couldn't go up in the woods, but I don't remember those days. I only remember the days of playing in the woods. If you go through here, there's a valley and then a steep rise to the path that you can walk along. And the bracken used to grow there, and we would make little houses because we were the famous 5. And we had to run away from our wicked aunt and uncle in the story. I always wanted to play George because she was the tomboy, but Beverly's friend used to come with us, and she was taller than me and dark haired, so I had to play Anne, and I didn't like it. I used to complain every time because I had to play Anne, and she always played George. Beverly used to be Julian and Tim was Dick, and none of us had a dog, so we didn't have Timmy the dog. But it was our youth, we loved it. Enid Blyton and the woods was my childhood, really.
So, tell me about your Christmas experiences.
Quiet Christmases. We never had visitors on Christmas Day, but we always went to my grand's on Boxing Day, and then we'd meet up with aunts and cousins. We just used to have one present each, and a stocking. I don't know whether I gave my children stockings, but we always had a stocking when I was little. We had chicken. We didn't have turkey, we had a chicken for Christmas lunch. And of course we were in the meeting then, and if Christmas Day came on a Sunday, we carried on going to the meeting Sunday morning and Sunday night, but we didn't have Sunday school in the afternoon. But otherwise than that, it was very quiet.
What about Boxing Day?
Boxing Day we went to my grand's, as I said, and we met up with my Auntie Gladys, Uncle Johnny, and their 3 children. There's 2 children for ages, but they had a daughter late. And Jill and Johnny, the children were called, my cousins. Jill was about Beverly's age, and Johnny was about Tim's age. They didn't have one my age.
And where was this?
Oh, Gran lived to Erdington. 2 buses, one from Redditch to Birmingham, and then another from Birmingham to Erdington. And we used to have a cup of tea. We never had anything to eat. And we were out all day. Presumably we'd had breakfast before we left home. And we got home at night and had dinner. But we never ate at my grand's. I think she was living on a state pension. Dad used to give us some money every week. Because we went every Saturday. Because my Auntie Maudie lived with her and she was very ill. From the Christmas Day, Boxing Day, I can't remember there being the parties that we had when I was older, when I met Andy. And his family always had lots of parties at Christmas. Different people celebrating each day. But we never did anything like that in our family. It was very quiet. And we didn't see Mum's side of the family at all over Christmas.